All right, we are waiting to get people logged on and have people join us here. Um, did it a little bit early, going to give people a little bit of a chance to join us. So, waiting just a moment. It's our first time actually going live and doing one of these, so please bear with us through some technical potential difficulties. Not really sure how that's going to go, but um, giving everyone who's asked and who's interested an opportunity. These will be online and available on our YouTube page so you can continue to watch. And oh, learning as we go. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our first episode of Pep Talk, brought to you by Driven Healthcare. I'm Dr. Carrie Demore, and this is going to be your go to space for everything peptides, regenerative medicine, and optimizing how you feel and function. Each week, we'll break down a different peptide, what it does, who it's for, and what actually works without all the fluff and misinformation that's out there. Today, we're starting simple. What are peptides? Why is everyone suddenly talking about them? And how do they fit into things like hormone replacement therapy, NAD, your general wellness? So let's get into it. First of all, I'm mainly doing this podcast because a lot of patients wanting to know, everybody's like, hey, Dr. Moore, I really want to be on peptides. So what are peptides? Like what does that even mean? So let's simplify this. At the most basic level, peptides are short chains of amino acids. And amino acids are actually building blocks of proteins. And if so, let's say proteins are like full sentences, peptides are like short phrases, small but powerful. And here's the key concept: peptides are signaling molecules. So they're like telling your body to do what it already should do, it's just helping you to optimize. So they help with things like healing tissue, reducing inflammation, releasing growth hormone, improving your sleep, and burning fat. Your body actually already makes peptides naturally. So like it's already going on in your body. So what we're doing clinically isn't actually introducing something foreign. We're amplifying or restoring signals that may not be firing the way that they used to. Because let's be honest, you're not feeling as great as you could. Most people walking around right now are not optimized. So we're going to try to get help with that. Most people are inflamed, they're exhausted, their sleep is off, their hormones are off. And peptides are kind of like flipping those switches back on. So helping you to feel better, less exhausted, sleep better. But you already produced them. Um, so why do we think peptides are trending right now? Why is everybody talking about this? It's exploding. Everyone, you see all the influencers, you see people are talking about it, but people are realizing something. Traditional medicine is excellent for acute care, right? Like in the emergency room, we're going to go with the what we know, this has always worked. Amazing, incredible during an emergency. But if you're just tired, you're gaining weight, you're not recovering, you got brain fog, you get your labs back, you get told you're normal, nothing's wrong, but you still feel terrible, right? So that's the gap. That is where peptides and optimization medicine live, is like figuring out why you're not having an emergency, you don't belong in the emergency room, but you don't feel your best. So this is about performance, it's about recovery, longevity, and not just survival. So it's a much more targeted, individualized approach. I will say that there are a lot of people out there. I get approached a lot by patients that are trying to manage their own peptides. They are trying to bridge this gap. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this podcast right now, is because I feel like there's a gap for patients feeling like their doctor isn't available for them to get into this space and help you to do it. So you're going out, you're doing it on your own, doing your own research, if you will, um, taking advice from influencers and podcasters who aren't necessarily physicians, seeing a lot of that. And quite frankly, medical school's hard. We learn a lot. We do know a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. So you need to be able to trust your physician to help guide you with these things. I heard from another physician today, actually, that about 50% of peptides that are being purchased and used in the United States right now, people are buying them kind of black market or from some online source, and they're not even having a physician manage those peptides. So I think that is one of the key things we want to do here, is help you to understand how to be safe with these, but also get rid of some of like what may just be a fad and what may not actually be beneficial for you, and help you to focus on that, and then encourage you to utilize, hopefully, us and our clinic here at Driven Healthcare to help you optimize your wellness. But if not, surely going to see an actual physician that can help look at the labs, look and see, and make sure that you're dosing yourself safely, and that you're not giving yourself something in excess, and just messing everything all up. So that's what we're going to target on doing here on this podcast. Um, so I do want to dive into some common peptides. We are going to break down every week, by the way. We're going to be doing a peptide that we find that we everybody's interested in, and we're going to actually try and do a very focused talk on specific peptides, right? And as we talked about earlier, people are always asking me, right? Like, I want to be on peptides, but they don't even know really which peptide. They just want to, that means that I want to feel better. So we're going to dive into the peptides that are available, the ones that are actually FDA approved, because there are some that are FDA approved peptides that are being used for various reasons. And want to dive in between which ones those are, and then also which ones you may be seeing a lot of hype around, and determine if that's safe, who's using them, and where physician or your physician may be able to do to help you optimize that peptide, and if it's appropriate for you. So we will dive more into these individual peptides, right? Every week we'll pick one, maybe two. Some of them go hand in hand a little bit, but we will be looking through these. We'll break it down. You can ask your questions, and let me know, like, what is it about this peptide, or I want to do and then you will be able to open it up to where you can ask questions online too, and say, hey, Dr. Moore, I have problems with my joints. I have problems with my healing, or just feeling better, or I have trouble sleeping. And we can dive into a little bit deeper which peptides work for that, so you can be educated about the decisions for your health. That's the goal. So, one of the most talked about peptides out there, I find, is BPC 157, and it's for healing purposes. Now, it's used for injury recovery, tendons and ligament issues, gut health, and what's kind of fun, and people always go, ooh, this is exciting, is that they call it the Wolverine peptide. It's because, Wolverine and X-Men, he regenerates really fast, and people just love the BPC 157 for that. TB 500 is kind of the brother to BPC 157, but this is more a systemic peptide. It circulates more through the body more broadly, and signals for recovery. It's used for muscle recovery, tissue repair, and mobility. And often it's called stacked with BPC 157. Now, you don't end up actually staying on those forever and ever and always. You usually will cycle them. A lot of people will use them intermittently if they have an injury. And these are some of the ones I find people are getting kind of off the black market or not from a trusted source. So one of the things that has been very important to me, especially with these, the Wolverine stack. I've got a lot of athletes in my family and obviously collegiate athletes. And one of the things that you better be aware of, especially you guys that are out there in maybe college athletics or even high school athletes, be sure that when you're getting things, you're not taking a medication or a peptide that may be a banned substance or thought of as a performance enhancing medication. That's another reason to not just go alone. Make sure that you're talking to your doctor that you can help with. Now, a lot of promising stuff with these two, the TB 500 and the BPC 157. And we will be diving more into that in that Wolverine stack and talking about that here in the next couple of weeks. I'm probably going to try and get some orthopedics orthopedists on board to talk about their experience with it. I know that there's a lot of orthopedists who really believe in this as well as physical therapists that are starting to ask a lot about this for our patients. So again, those are BPC 157 and TB 500, otherwise known as the Wolverine stack. So additionally, the next one I want to talk about is CJC 1295 and ipamorelin. So this is really a big one in a lot of clinics. You're seeing a lot of people pushing these, and these boutique kind of med spa places are starting to push these ipamorelin, tesamorelin, or Simorelin, all of which can have really good options for folks for different reasons. And actually, tesamorelin is a peptide that is approved by the FDA, but for HIV-associated lipodystrophy. So, and it really targets visceral fat and things like that. So, this is one that where FDA approval is there, but it's for a specific reason. But there's a lot of science behind these specifically, and this, like I said, these are a big one in clinics. But what these do, the Simorelins, the ipamorelin, the tesamorelin, they actually stimulate your body to release more of its own growth hormone. So think of it as like a precursor behind your growth hormone. It's not synthetic growth hormone that you're taking on board, it's your own. So these peptides help your body to produce more. So the benefits of those, you have improved sleep, some fat loss, lean muscle, and recovery. And honestly, sleep alone is a game changer here. I have a lot of ladies that come in the clinic that we have, that have used Simorelin, especially with perimenopause and the menopause. You're just trying to get rest, and bringing on the Simorelin has been very, very helpful for them. You could also, again, with ipamorelin and tesamorelin, have part of that as well. But we do recommend with those having some lab studies because they can impact other components in your body. We want to be sure before starting these what in your lab work looks like your body's doing with your IGF-1 and your other hormones that are all circulating in your body. We don't want to necessarily just, and this is again one of these ones where you don't necessarily want to just start it on your own without checking with a physician and making sure your dosing is correct, right? So definitely, we will have an episode solely dedicated to those growth hormone precursors, but really, really promising in terms of the research there as well. Now, the big one, I think when most people talk about they want to get on peptides, a lot of them are talking about the GLP-1s like semaglutide and tirzepatide. And even more recently, you can get online. It's not FDA approved, not available, is retatrutide. So we have to talk about these, right? These are peptide-based medications that are completely mainstream. And they're used for weight loss, appetite control, and metabolic health. A lot with diabetes management, really been a game changer. So they work, but they need to be used absolutely correctly. Because if you're not preserving your muscle or managing nutrition, you can really create other problems with this. And I would say, don't try and go out and go and buy tirzepatide, semaglutide. I know they're available. I know that they are available in certain markets as research peptides still, and you're still able to get them. But we work with, for our patients, we work with a known pharmacies and even directly with companies like Eli Lilly and people who are the actual manufacturers of these, right? Um, to ensure you've got good product, to ensure you are safe because I could tell you if you go and overdose yourself on tirzepatide and you because you're like I want to be skinny today, and you give yourself and you've never been on it and you give yourself 15 milligrams of tirzepatide, you're not only going to feel terrible, you're probably going to mess up your gut, you're probably going to end up hypoglycemic or just feel absolutely terrible, and you're going to end up in my emergency room and feeling terrible. So do not try to self medicate with these peptides. It's really, truly important. And we will definitely have our own segment on this. We will go through um, all the GLPs, and specifically we'll have a talk about retatrutide. That's the newer one that's coming up. Everybody's talking about it's the triple threat that is that's coming out. Hopefully, it will be FDA approved within the next year. Extraordinarily great reports coming out of it. I mean, really, in terms of weight loss, it is thought to be a game changer, especially for people who are becoming resistant to the other semaglutides and the tirzepatides, where they're not seeing the results. So we will definitely be talking about those. The other component is we will be having in like a nutritionist to talk with you guys and have a conversation about nutrition and how that plays in to our use of peptides, right? And the GLPs specifically. Protein, huge component of that, huge. But we'll bring on a specialist that knows their stuff and can talk to us about how we optimize that. Looking to see if we have anybody who's got any questions. You are able to put questions in the Facebook Live or our YouTube Live links, and I actually am able to see those. And so if you have any questions, feel free. And after, if you catch this, we're not anymore. If we're actually not live, you can still send us some questions at info@drivenhealthcare.com. And we'll get back to you and we'll try to address those in future episodes. All right. So I already talked a little bit about these with the individual peptides, but let's talk about FDA approval. And I think this is really important, and what matters is like making sure, again, we're doing things that are safe for us. So some peptides are actually FDA approved. The GLP-1 medications, insulin, insulin's actually a peptide. And certain hormone therapies as well. And then there also are some approvals for, again, tesamorelin for HIV lipodystrophy. But many peptides are used in wellness and performance medicine, and they fall into more of a compounded or research base. That doesn't mean they're unsafe, but it means you need a qualified provider, physician, if you will, proper dosing, and reliable sourcing. You want to make sure that you're not injecting yourself with who knows what that you're buying off the internet, right? This is really, I can't emphasize this enough. This is not something you experiment with some random online vendor that Joe over here that sells it. Used correctly, incredibly effective, great for you. Used irresponsibly, that is where problems are going to happen. So just be very cautious about that. All right. So last part we're going to be moving into is HRT and peptides. And let's talk about how we connect the dots to hormone replacement therapy. So peptides alone are not going to fix everything if your hormones are off. Okay. So this is for all my perimenopause ladies and friends out there. Just getting on peptides alone might help you feel or especially GLPs may make you feel less inflamed, may help you feel a lot better. We can regulate sleep with some of the peptides like we talked about. But if your hormones are off, everything's going to be off. Things aren't still. So we have to optimize the hormones along with peptides to have the best benefit of everything. Um, so when we talk about hormones, we're talking about your testosterone, your estrogen, progesterone. We also look at things like your luteinizing hormone, your FSH, your prolactin levels, and things like that, and how these are all impacted. But specifically, especially with men's health, testosterone levels, how if you're optimized there, and ladies with estrogen, as our estrogen starts to fall off, as we get older and things get off. That's why we get that gets all out of whack. You're getting night sweats, you're getting palpitations, you're having hot flashes. Those things are not necessarily going to be fixed by just taking peptides. We've got to optimize your hormones at that point as well. But they can be worked, combined to have a really good outcome. But if your hormones are imbalanced, you're not going to feel optimal. It's not going to be the best option that you have just to do peptides with that. So we often do combine HRT and peptide therapy to help people feel their best. And so, for example, growth hormone peptides like sermorelin or ipamorelin, tesamorelin with testosterone optimization, or peptides that improve sleep and recovery alongside hormone therapy like sermorelin or ipamorelin. And that's really where you start to see an energy improvement, your body composition shift, mental clarity come back to you. So people don't feel necessarily superhuman, but they feel like themselves again, which I think is key. I think a lot of the ladies that we see and a lot of our folks, we're in our 40s and 50s, and like we just don't feel like the 20 or 30-year-old version of ourselves. We don't need to feel like we're 15 years old again, but we'd like to feel normal and like we have an improved quality of life. So that's where all those really, really mix together. Now, NAD. I want to talk about NAD a little bit. We've done some short videos on this, and the NAD is it often gets lumped into peptides. People kind of think, oh, NAD is peptide. It's not a peptide. Okay, so it's always in the same conversation, but it's different. So NAD is actually a coenzyme involved in cellular energy and mitochondrial function and DNA repair. So, and as we get older, our levels internally of NAD, they decline as we age. So, if peptides are signaling your body what to do, NAD is actually helping fuel that system to actually do it. And that's why combining therapies can be really, really powerful. I can tell you that with NAD, I really personally like it. I think the research on NAD is pretty well done. And, you want to be sure that you're getting the right dosing on that as well. NAD can be done IV, and it can also be done subcutaneously. There's some formulations where people will do an intranasal NAD as well. I do find that if you don't have time to come in and do a 2 or 4 hour IV infusion, which most people don't, the best way for this is a subcutaneous or intramuscular injection that you can do at home. We do have those available at the clinic, just like we do with like B12 or whatnot. And you can definitely get those with us, but it was one of those things you want to be careful with that. And I would caution you with getting NAD at any just pop-up IV place that who knows who's monitoring it. Be very, very careful. We do have some new laws in Texas with IV administration of pretty much anything, because there's been some really bad outcomes with people infusing things they shouldn't be infusing, not physician overseen. If anything, I hope that from this conversation, you understand. And obviously, I'm a doctor, right? But it really is true that really looking out for your safety and for the benefit of you. But if you get NAD per se too fast in the IV, you're going to feel potentially some chest pain, some warmth, flushing. And so that's why it has to be done very specifically with the rate of which it's infused. And so you don't necessarily want somebody who just got a job last week at some IV place to be doing this to you. But again, we do have the subcutaneous, the IM options. Really great option, by the way, with NAD. For people who are like me, who have terrible sleep schedules because of work, they're working in the ER, high functioning individuals who have long hours, lawyers, doctors. I mean, it really actually can help boost that energy and that cellular support. So I'm a big fan of it myself, used it myself. And so definitely would love to talk about that more. And we'll probably dive a little bit more into the research on NAD, talk about it and the benefits of it in another episode. So here's the bottom line. Peptides are not magic. Okay. They are not the magic drug that is going to fix everything for you. But they are powerful tools when they're used correctly. So they allow us to work with the body instead of against it. Huge takeaway there. Huge takeaway. The key is understanding what to use, when to use it, and who it's appropriate for use in. Next episode, we're going to be taking on one peptide. We're going to break it down completely. No hype, just what actually works. That's it. This is Pep Talk by Driven Healthcare. I'm Dr. Carrie Moore. I thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you next time.